The Flamer is a weapon that's often overshadowed by its better counterparts, those being the Heavy Flamer and the Heavy Incinerator. That's why today I figured I would show it some love and ask if you can beat Fallout New Vegas using only the Flamer. I went ahead and named myself Food after the fiend Cook, made my special stats focusing on strength and perception so that I could properly utilize the Flamer, picked energy weapons, explosives, and speech for my tag skills, as well as skilled and fast shot for my traits. With there not being a whole lot I can do in Good Springs again, since the Flamer is nowhere to be found here, I was heading off towards the only reliable place I knew of to get a Flamer early on, that being the Silver Rush. As usual, I stopped by Hidden Valley to discover it for later, since in most runs I usually have to deal with the Brotherhood at one point or another. I also went up to Black Mountain to take the shortcut to the Strip, which was uneventful other than getting both of my arms crippled by a rocket launcher. Again, it's not a Fallout run unless I get exploded in one way or another. Every run without fail, and it's not like I even try to get exploded, it just happens to me for some reason. I still have no idea why. On the way to the Strip, I watched a caravan bully some raiders, which was free loot for me. I also went ahead and stopped by the Gunrunners because I figured that they may have a Flamer. They did not. So I was off to Freeside so that I could go to the Silver Rush, which was, in my opinion, the best place to get the Flamer early on. There are other methods, but there's one just out in the open you can straight up steal here, so that was my route that I took. I yoinked the Flamer off the table in front of Gloria so that I could start cosplaying everyone's favorite fiend, as well as reset for a little while so that I could stock up on a good amount of ammo, as I would be burning through ammo this run. Pun definitely intended. I'm so sorry for that one, I had to. I tested out the Flamer on Old Ben because he deserved it for getting in my way. I also killed a Freeside thug that ran away from me for some reason and made it to the Strip, where I figured my first route would be to go to the top since I would need the Platinum Chip. I was going to be siding with Mr. House this run. The chairmen weren't too bad as they didn't have much in the way of armor, so they went down pretty quickly, except for the part where I died somehow. I didn't expect that this early on. And that was just the start of our issues with the Flamer. Oh, it gets worse, trust me. After killing pretty much everyone I came across in the tops, I also went ahead and murdered Benny, who just stood there and let it happen. Also, he exploded for some reason. I didn't even have the Bloody Mess perk yet, which was kind of weird. I was level 3. I also cooked a furry outside so that we could get some free food. Then it was back to the Lucky 38 to talk to Mr. House again, who was ecstatic that I had finally brought him his Platinum Chip. I also extorted him out of some money. I went ahead and sat through Mr. House's presentation on why robot anime waifus should be a thing, went back up into the Lucky 38 so that I could talk to him again, and he wanted me to head off to the fort so that I could upgrade the Securitrons even more. I got into a 1v1 with a Fire Ant soldier, which was pretty fun, then decided that I was going to instead go back to the Silver Rush and reset for a copious amount of ammo. By the time that was done, I was sitting on around 3,000 Flamer fuel, which I thought would be more than enough for this run. Spoiler alert, it was not. For some reason, I also got assaulted by a Legion hit squad, which was weird considering I was only shunned with the Legion. Killed a couple more Fire Ants, and then I was off to Cottonwood Cove, where the Legion wasn't hostile to me. So it was even more confusing considering they attacked me earlier. In the fort, I went ahead and got mugged, because of course they can't just leave my shit alone. Talked to Caesar, who wanted me to go and destroy the Securitron upgrades down in the bunker. Actually stopped to kill the robots here, which I normally don't do, so it was actually a nice change of pace. It was weird to me because the Flamer doesn't actually seem like a weapon that should be good against robots, but for some reason it is. Mr. House wanted me to go off and deal with the boomers, who I just was going to slaughter as usual, because of course I do. I'll do their quest one of these days. Today is not that day. On the way there, I got murdered by some fiends, so the second time around I took a different route, which caused its own problems because I got into another 1v1 with a fiend that had a Flamer, and then another fiend with a Flamer showed up, so that was actually pretty fun. I said hello to George, who also exploded for some reason, as I didn't have the Bloody Mess perk again at this point. I killed everyone inside Pearl's shack, including Raquel, because I wanted her combat armor. Pearl also fell before me. I cooked the old lady alive. I cooked everyone outside as well. It's such a shame that they don't drop meat. I also killed Jack and Loyal inside the hangar because they deserved to die. Went back to Mr. House, and he wanted me to go deal with the Omertas next. So I took a different route this time around with the Omertas and actually decided to go ahead and do their questline, which started with me talking to Caccino and bribing him after I had found his journal conveniently in his pocket and slipped it without him noticing. First things first, he wanted me to go off and talk to Clandon and Troik. I decided to start with Troik as he's the easier way to complete this quest. Once I'd gotten some information out of him, I went up to break his contract with Big Sal by bribing him because I had plenty of caps to spare at this point, let Troik know that he was no longer under contract, and he gave me some thermite to place on some weapon crates so that I could burn them down. This was pretty fun as I normally don't do this route on this quest, so it was kind of nice seeing this again as I'd normally just ignore this. But once that was done, I went back up to Caccino, who said that it was time to just kill the bosses. I was completely useful here by running around in circles and distracting Big Sal so that Caccino could miss half the shots with his revolver. I told Mr. House that they were dealt with, and of course it was time to deal with the Brotherhood. This started with me getting harassed in the corner because for some reason they were able to knock me over. I'm assuming it was due to a modded weapon, which, oh well. It makes the game more challenging, so I leave them in anyways. I tend not to use them myself, but, you know, it makes the runs a little bit more exciting when the enemies can actually just destroy me. So the Flamer was actually ineffective on the turrets here, which was kind of surprising to me, but I was hoping that it would actually be good, like it was against the turrets in the weather station. It was not. I burnt everyone alive in my path, including the women and the children. So, once that was done, I collected all the key cards and blew up the bunker. Went back to Mr. House for my next assignment, which would have been protecting Kimball, but the NCR didn't like me. So I was off to the El Dorado substation, where I subsequently cooked all the troopers alive that were just chilling in the entrance for some reason, even though it wasn't nighttime. Activated the substation, and went back to let Mr. House know, and it was time for the second battle of Hoover Dam, where I got a little bit of a scare as the Great Khans popped out of the building next to me. Normally I'm not used to that since I killed them all early on, for most of the playthroughs that I do. So inside, the NCR heavy troopers went down without a hitch, which wasn't really that surprising to me. I pushed a button on a wall because it looked funny, got blocked by a Securitron, made it to the Legate's camp after letting the Securitrons do most of the work with the Legionnaires, and started clearing out the Legion. The first time didn't go so well. Neither did the second time, when the Securitron decided to nuke me. Yeah, the Securitron got instant karma for that. I watched his body get absolutely bonked over to me, which was pretty funny. My first attempt at the Legate was poor. So was the second attempt at the Legate, which I wasn't expecting to go this poorly. I died for about an hour here. It was just awful. It was absolutely awful. By the time I had killed pretty much everyone in the camp, I was down to like a whopping 180 flamer fuel, and by this point I was so sick of using the flamer as it's just not a good weapon. General Oliver showed up, and I just promptly had the Securitrons execute him, except I cooked him alive myself because, of course, I couldn't let anyone else have the fun. And I talked to Mr. House one more time, and with that, the run was over. I did beat Fallout New Vegas with only the flamer. And there is a reason why nobody uses this weapon. As always, thank you guys for watching. If you have any suggestions, leave them in the comments below, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.